Well, we're back in another field. Don't worry, it'll catch on. Just give it some time, it'll catch on. I guess for another Wolf Den field review. But before we get into all of this, I do need to be transparent. Wolf Den is affiliated with Vortex Optics, and Vortex Optics did send me the laser rangefinding binoculars to review. Now, with that over and done with, let's get going. What do I have here? I have the FURY HD 5000 AB laser rangefinding binoculars. We're gonna unbox these and take a look over the next few minutes. Let's check them out. We've got to get out of that Texas sun. I think it still counts anyway if we're on the fringe of a field, right? It would still be a field review, I guess. Let's unbox these and take a look what's inside. The first thing we need to understand is the case is actually not just a case or a cover, it can also be transformed into a bino's harness. The harness straps are contained within the box here. Now I'm just going to put that one to the side and pull the binos out. Now I've been messing around with this unit with onboard ballistic solver for a number of years, basically a little bit before it was released. And this unit holds a dear place in my heart because of just how versatile the device is and how many different applications it can be used for as well. And we'll discuss that in a little bit more context later on as we go. Here we have the FURY HD 5000 ABs in their natural habitat. The eye cups are adjustable like so. We have reticle focus here and diopter focus here, central focus, measure for ranging and also scanning. The menu button, you would hold the menu button down to enter the programming mode, which would take you through the different programming menus. If you needed to program or preset an input if you weren't using the companion app via your phone. Talking about the companion app, here is the Bluetooth antenna, and then we have these three buttons here which are really quite unique. These two are wind speed increase decrease buttons. Basically they'll give you your wind speed adjustment, and then the wind capture button here. Now if we turn the binos to the front, we can see this cap, and that cap is actually removable, which allows us to screw in a tripod adapter socket. And that's a nice little feature as well. I'm going to quickly install the adapter bracket so that we can snap that straight into the tripod adapter itself. And you can see this cap just quickly unscrews. No big deal. I'm going to put that away, keep it for later. And then I've got the socket bracket itself, and we just go ahead and insert, and that just snaps into place. The nice thing is you can go ahead and mount this on a tripod with the other half of this bracket, but you can also leave this situated in the binoculars themselves, and they're relatively out of the way. You don't really notice them on the front there at all. Here's the tripod bracket attached here, and we can see that this just snaps into place here like so. And then we have a fair bit of free play here. And if we do need to make sure there's some amount of positive retention, we can go ahead and tighten this on the top here. And you still have that play. It's just you can't remove the binoculars from the bracket until you release the top knob there again. There you can see it's very quick, very easy, functional. Now when it comes to programming the binoculars, the easiest way to program this device is to access the programming and settings through the Vortex FURY HD companion application. Now be aware that you will need to turn Bluetooth on to access and connect to the companion app, and that Bluetooth can only be enabled from the ballistics mode. Now talking about modes, the device itself can operate in two different modes. The first is HCD mode, which is horizontal component distance, and the second being BAL mode or ballistics mode. And I'm going to be focusing the vast majority of my time on ballistics mode, being that this device is enabled with a onboard ballistic solver, and I don't think you would really buy this device with the ballistic solver on board if you weren't interested in primarily using it in ballistics mode. Here we have the FURY HD companion app that I was just discussing, and we can go ahead and select the settings from up on the top left here. Just going to brush over this really quickly. Firearms to build custom gun profiles. Environmentals, where you can also program wind. Ballistics display, where it'll display the elevation and windage, and then our target parameters as well. You can manually program the binoculars themselves by depressing that measure button. However, if you're operating in ballistics mode, you really do need to probably connect to the companion application and then build your custom gun profiles and sync it across. That is by far the easiest way to do business. Now we've updated our latitude and calibrated our compass. Why would we need to do that? To account for vertical to horizontal Coriolis. It gives the ballistic solver the inputs it requires to do that. Not necessarily pertinent at medium ranges, but becomes a building problem that needs to be accounted for at longer ranges on smaller targets, or larger targets at long range to extended long range. We can also Bluetooth connect this device to Kestrel and Garmin devices that are enabled to talk to each other, but I would recommend just confirming with the individual manufacturers before you go ahead and drop that cash money on some of those devices. So we're operating in ballistics mode, right? The binos here have an inbuilt or onboard ballistic solver along with atmospheric sensors. So at the push of the measure button, this device is measuring or ranging your target, calculating and measuring your direction of fire to that target, measuring any inclination angle for high angle engagements, updating your temperature, pressure and humidity measurements with the onboard atmospheric sensors, and then also using your windage inputs via the windage buttons to go ahead and calculate an elevation and windage firing solution for the given target range and the target that you've just ranged. Extremely quick, effective method to remain on the glass, continue observing, ranging multiple targets and getting firing solutions for those targets without having to get off the glass and get on another device that has a ballistic solver, you know, such as your Kestrel or Garmin. That's a bit of a time saver in certain situations and certain circumstances. The hunting application, obviously it allows you to remain on the glass and keep eyes on the game itself. And then also that crosses over to military and law enforcement applications as well, reducing time to get that firing solution, that elevation and windage adjustment, and being able to quickly and decisively engage that target and then switch fires onto another target without having to get on and off your binoculars. Now for competition, a few other applications there, as well as lending to good observation downrange as well, being a 10 power optic. Another thing we need to discuss is the wind modes. This device will operate within ballistics mode in two different wind modes, being full crosswind and wind bearing capture modes. Now the full crosswind mode assumes a full value wind from 9 through to 3 or vice versa, and the shooter is only required to go ahead and update the actual wind speed itself using the wind speed increase and decrease buttons here. That's an extremely useful feature for certain applications where the shooter might only be operating or judging wind in full value crosswind, and it also assumes that the shooter has gone ahead and corrected the wind speed for the relative cosine. Now that might be applicable for using reticles such as the Tremor 3 that have wind dots, where that shooter's calling the wind in wind speed in full value wind, and then correlating that across to the necessary wind dot hold required for that wind condition. The other mode that the binoculars are able to operate in is the wind bearing capture mode, and that uses the wind bearing capture button on the front of the binoculars, requires the shooter to capture the direction of the wind by pointing the binoculars into the wind, capturing that direction, and then as the shooter traverses across the engagement area and ranges those targets, the binoculars take that wind direction into account as they're updating the direction of fire and correlate that back across to the relative cosine for the wind direction. What that means is the binoculars themselves are able to account for the cosine as it changes with different target directions. That's an extremely nice and useful feature, very versatile, very innovative compared to some of the other binoculars that are on the market with onboard ballistic solver. And I think that that's an extremely useful feature in itself. Really, the last thing we need to talk about is the ranging capability of these binoculars, because what would be the point in having a laser rangefinder if it didn't actually range anything, right? Now, so Vortex has cited specifications of ranging capability from 5 yards to 5,000 yards. Bear in mind that's also going to vary dependent on the lighting conditions and the reflectivity of the target. I will say I've been using this device for an extended period of time, and for practical long-range engagement scenarios, I've not had any issues achieving ranges on target. I guess to summarize, I think that Vortex has done an exceptional job with these binoculars. They're a very useful tool, a very good capability increase for a different range of applications within hunting, military, law enforcement, competitions, such as PRS, and then also the sniper team competitions, or NRL as well. So if you are in the market for a good set of laser range finding binoculars with onboard ballistic solver, certainly give these a look. It's just an exceptional device. It's really well manufactured, put together, and Vortex has really knocked this one out of the park. Well, that concludes a quick down and dirty on the Vortex FURY HD 5000 AB binoculars. Thanks very much for watching. Until the next time, I guess all there is to do now is cross this big field. And then also